Glover. Thank you once again, Veterans Health Alliance of Long Island, for having me to coach you and motivate you to wellness. Today, I'm going to talk about cardiovascular training. So, it's recommended by the American Council on Exercise and the National Academy of Sports Medicine that we get 150 minutes of cardiovascular or aerobic exercise per week. So that sounds like a lot, 150 minutes. But if you break it up into like 30-minute increments, throughout the week, pick a couple days throughout the week and break it up that way, it's really doable, attainable. So most people, when they think about cardiovascular or aerobic training, um, come up with excuses not to do it. So I've heard all the excuses in the world. And once I did a presentation for a group that asked me to speak called Exercise Adherence. How do you stay with your exercise program? And so I did a little demonstration regarding time and how we use our time throughout the day. So before I even talked about time, I did a little survey. I asked everyone in the room about television shows. I said, "How many of you watch CSI? And how many of you watch Dancing with the Stars? And how many of you watch American Idol?" And I just kept going on and on and on and on and on with these television shows. And so by the time I finished, I calculated how many hours of television were being viewed by the people in the audience. And then I said, well, and now you still don't have time to exercise. You have time to watch all of these television shows, but you can't cut out 30 minutes out of your day to dedicate to your health for exercise. So just think about that for a second, okay? So there's all kinds of excuses out there. And now a lot of us have time on our hands, due to the social isolation and so forth. But anyhow, how do we get to that point where we are ready to do the cardiovascular exercise? Well, first of all, you have to find something that you love to do, something that is going to be attainable for you, something that's going to motivate you and keep you going. And then I also want you to think about your options and dial it back a second, okay? If you haven't ever done any cardiovascular or aerobic type of exercise, you don't want to jump into the thought of becoming a runner right out the gate, because that's intense. That's a lot of pressure on your body, a lot of stress on your body, and it takes conditioning to become a runner. So I try to simplify cardiovascular exercise. Start with walking. The hardest part is showing up, okay? So get the mindset of a walking program, all right? And maybe just going for a walk. All right, simplify it. Make it very simple. Start with walking away from your house for 15 minutes. If you walk away from your house for 15 minutes, you have to walk back home, right, for 15 minutes at a moderate pace, okay, just to get you started, just to get your mind into the fact that you can actually do cardiovascular exercise. People like to complicate it to make it sound like, oh, well, you have to do this many minutes, and you have to work at your target heart rate zone, your max reserve needs to be calculated, and all this. No, start very basic. Go ahead and walk 15 minutes away from your home, and then walk 15 minutes back to your home. So there are a few things that you need to consider when starting any type of cardiovascular exercise. First of all, you have to take care of your feet. Your feet are doing most of the work here. They're taking the stress and the impact of every step that you take. So you have to make sure that you have on the proper foot gear in order to run or walk or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Warm up a little bit, start walking slowly when you start out the gate, and then increase your intensity, increase your speed as you go along, okay? Don't try to overdo it the first time. But the hardest part is showing up. Just do it, just show up, just go. All right, so I will talk about your target heart rate zones now. So there is a way of calculating how hard you're working, your intensity, and that's called your heart rate reserve. So you want to calculate your heart rate reserve. I'm going to talk about it for a second, and if you want to take notes, you can, but you can also Google your heart rate reserve and how to calculate your target heart rate ranges. So it's recommended that you exercise between 50 to 70% of your heart rate reserve. That's for moderate exercise. And then for more intense, vigorous, faster walking for us right now, for our purposes, is working at 70 to 85% of your heart rate max. Um, so how do you calculate that? So you take 220, you subtract your age from that, and that's where you're going to get your heart rate reserve, right? Then after you get that number, you're going to subtract your resting heart rate. Now, a typical resting heart rate is about 80 beats per minute. So how do you calculate that? Well, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to take your pulse, your radial pulse. So you're going to put your fingers right on the thumb side of your wrist to calculate your radial pulse. All right. So calculate your radial pulse. So you're going to take your radial pulse. Once you get that number, you're going to subtract it from your heart rate reserve. 220 minus your age number. You're going to subtract the resting heart rate from that number. And then you're going to calculate your moderate intensity zones. 50 to 70% of your heart rate reserve, and then you're going to calculate your vigorous activity zone, 70 to 85% of your heart rate reserve. Now, I said all of that, right? You can Google it. You can go to a heart rate calculator. You can try to contact me, and I'll go over your heart rate reserves and your training zones for you. So in case you really want to hone in and be serious about your cardiovascular exercise and know how hard you're working and know what zone you're working in and know approximately how many calories you burn in your cardiovascular, your workout. All right. So it's very important that you try not to come up with excuses for doing it. We all know at this point in our lives, at this stage in the game, how important it is to do cardiovascular exercise. The recommendation is 150 minutes per week. Sounds like a lot, but it's very doable. So I challenge you today, walk 15 minutes away from your home and then walk 15 minutes back to your home, or walk 15 minutes away from your job and 15 minutes back to your job. Just do it. Just get out there and make it happen. Don't overthink it. Okay, so now going forward, you're walking, but you want to do a little bit something more. Find some music that you absolutely love and dance. Just dance, just do it. If you love to dance, just dance. Put that music on and dance. Do it in your own home, in the privacy of your home. I teach Zumba. I love Zumba, and the reason why I love Zumba is because people show up to do Zumba and they can just dance and be free and be happy. And so when I teach a Zumba class, I preface the class by saying, come have fun. If you're not familiar with the music, don't be intimidated by the other people in the class that have been taking the class for a very long time. They know all of the routines. Just come, show up, keep your body moving, enjoy the music, leave with a sweat. And most people gravitate towards Zumba because it's very non-threatening. So things like that will keep you motivated, will keep you engaged in a cardiovascular or aerobic type of exercise class. If you want to become a runner, take the time to do a little research, okay, or runner or a jogger. I have become a runner, and I'll tell you how it happened. I needed something different. I needed to break up the monotony in my routine. I was bogged down from doing the same types of classes over and over and over again, and I needed to do something for myself. So I decided that I'm going to go ahead and try to engage in a running program. So what I did was I found an exercise app that took me very incrementally to the place where I would become able to run a 5K or 3.12 miles. And it's very doable. So if that's something that you have in mind that you would like to try, I would recommend that you find an app, a training app. I'm not going to advertise the training app here. If you want to contact me to talk about training apps for running, I'll talk to you privately. But the training apps make it attainable, and they make a running goal attainable for you, so that you don't have to try to bog down your mind with figuring out how to systematically become a runner. Highly suggested. Okay, but with running, you have to be very, very careful because you want to make sure that you're protecting all the joints and the fascia of your body, of your lower extremities, of your ankles and your feet and your legs. So you want to condition your body to be able to take the impact of running. And so that's what the training app pretty much does. It systematically conditions you so that you can eventually become a runner, run a 5K or a 10K or whatever it is that you are reaching for. So that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today, cardiovascular aerobic training. As I said before, if you want to reach out to me regarding the target heart rate zones, sometimes it sounds a little confusing, but once you see it on paper, it's easy to understand. Or you can just Google it and use a heart rate calculator to figure out your heart rate training zones as well. So once again, thank you for having me. Coach, you can call me Coach Laverne. And we'll meet again on Monday, and we'll talk about another topic. I believe I'm going to talk about food on Monday. And those of you that are attending the retreat tomorrow, I look forward to seeing you. We're going to be doing a gentle yoga practice, a gentle, mindful, resilience type of yoga practice, doable for everybody. Once again, have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.